بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ولا انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا أنفعنا وزدنا علما يا رب العالمين. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So today, inshallah ta'ala, we'll be discussing about the next Sahabi from our list, which is Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma. And if last week was about Bilal radiallahu anhu and sacrifice and struggle, what this will entail, what we'll be discussing today, is about the struggle and sacrifice of obtaining knowledge. And what does that give you? The same way Bilal radiallahu attained high levels of status and rank because of his sacrifice. What you'll notice from this story here is that a man, because of his knowledge, will attain a high status as well. And if the material on Bilal radiallahu anhu was like, let's say, one book, the material on Ibn Abbas is like double that. That's why I'm stressing out. So, and I'll try my best to make it again as stream-like and as story-like as we can, inshallah. Because Ibn Abbas is the scholar. We call him the greatest Mufassir for a reason. We could have just called him the greatest scholar as well, and that wouldn't be a lie. So, you know, when scholars speak about scholars, they just keep going. And so that's why you find that when they speak about Ibn Abbas, it's with so much love and like adoration, mashallah. Okay? So we'll get right, let's just jump right into it, inshallah. Okay? So what we want to start with is actually his father, Abbas, because you're not going to really understand him until we talk about Abbas for a little bit. Okay? So Abbas, of course, is the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay? This is right, where we'll put it at the scene of Badr. Okay? The scene of Badr here. So on the Battle of Badr, the Muslims, of course, are defeating the Quraysh because of the fact that the angels come and join them, and they're stomping the Quraysh, and the Quraysh are retreating. There is one extra man on the battlefield who is being chased down by this Ansari, right? And then what do you know? The man is captured. They pull him back. They bring him to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ sees it's his uncle Abbas. Abbas is not on the side of Muslims because he's not, quote unquote, a Muslim at the time. He actually didn't want to come out for Badr either. The Quraysh kind of like, your little girl, wimp, and then they're like, you have to come. So he was forced to come. And so then this Ansari captures him. He's like, yo, I got a big guy. And so this Ansari is very short. And Abbas is huge. If we were to talk about him, and you guys know Abbas is, they're big guys, mashallah, okay? So this Abbas is huge. So this Ansari starts to brag to the Prophet and say, Ya Rasulullah, I captured him. And so Abbas is looking at him. He's like, like he's tied up, like, you. And so he goes and tells the Prophet Abbas, he's like, no, you didn't capture me. It was a man who was riding a bald horse, meaning like, a very fast horse. He roped me real quick. And then he just handed the rope to you at the end. You didn't do anything. And the Ansari was trying to get some points, some brownie points with the Prophet ﷺ. And so the Prophet ﷺ is like hearing this Ansari, he's like, no, I captured you. The Prophet ﷺ said, be quiet. He said, an angel from the fourth heaven helped you. Why are we starting from this story? Is because Abbas should have been killed on the battlefield. Why is that the case? Because he came on the side of the non-Muslims. Okay? But the Prophet ﷺ does a couple of things before the battle. He tells people that there are certain people you cannot kill. The Prophet ﷺ says you cannot kill Abbas. You cannot touch Abbas. So it's very interesting. Why is the Prophet ﷺ saying that and highlighting it, right? And the angel probably already knew that we can't kill Abbas. There's a couple more reasons though. Okay? Firstly, Abbas, why did the Prophet ﷺ say not to kill Abbas? Because Abbas radiallahu anhu actually secretly converted a long time ago. No one really knew about it, and he didn't expose it. He was actually kind of like a secret agent, or like a commando operational guy in the Quraysh, giving information to the Prophet ﷺ. He was like the reconnaissance guy inside Quraysh, giving information to the Prophet ﷺ. So Abbas was actually a secret convert. People didn't know though. So the Prophet said, don't kill him, because if you kill him, you'll be killing a Muslim. Okay? So what does that also mean? Abbas, his wife, and his children are also Muslims as well. Al-Fadl is actually probably the second woman who accepted Islam, who's the wife of Abbas radiallahu anhu. She accepted Islam after Khadija radiallahu anha. So this is like another household that had properly accepted Islam. Abbas, though, like we spoke about today in the Jum'ah, he didn't go make hijrah because the Prophet says stay in Mecca. That's the first reason. Number one is that he's Muslim. The second reason is, which is very interesting, when Abbas radiallahu anhu, because he's a prisoner now, he has to buy his freedom. He has to buy his freedom. So he's like, I don't have any money, ya Rasulullah, Muhammad, sorry, I can't pay for it. Can some, So he's telling the Prophet like this. The Prophet says, don't you have a money that you're hiding out in this certain place that you said to so-and-so that once you die, give it to Fadl, which is one of his children, give it to Abdullah and one of his children. He's like, give it to such and such, Isn't there money you're hiding in a certain place? Abbas is like, who told you about that money? He's like, the Prophet said the angels informed me of it. No one else knew about that discussion. So Abbas is told, and then Allah reveals an ayah for Abbas. Ya ayyuhan nabi, qul liman fi aydikum min al-asra. O Prophet, tell the prisoners in your hands, in ya'lamillahu fi qulubikum khayra. If Allah Ta'ala knows good in your hearts, He'll give you better than what was taken, and He will forgive you. So now we can argue this point. Abbas radiallahu anhu was worried about his money, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Abbas, if you just give away your money, get your ransom, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you something even better than that. And what is better than money and wealth? Is knowledge. Okay? This is where his son comes into play. His son is extremely special. His son is extremely special. One time, Ibn Abbas, now we're talking about his son now. His son's name is Abdullah. Abdullah, one time he said, I went into the room of the Prophet ﷺ, and with him was Jibreel ﷺ. Ibn Abbas saw Jibreel ﷺ. He saw him a couple of times. Whether he saw him at this time is it's a bit of a debate. But he said that Jibreel ﷺ was with the Prophet ﷺ. And Jibreel ﷺ pointed at Abbas and told the Prophet ﷺ, إِنَّهُ كَائِنٌ حَبَرُ هَذِي الْأُمَّةِ. Jibreel ﷺ said, this is going to be the scholar of the Ummah. So the Prophet ﷺ was told by Jibreel, فَاسْتَوْصِي خَيْرًا. He said, deal with him nicely. Jibreel ﷺ is telling this about Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. So now Abbas radiallahu anhu was not taken out on Badr because his son Ibn Abbas was going to be someone extremely special to this ummah. Now let's talk about it. Who was this boy Abdullah? Now that we have everyone's idea and intention about how important Abdullah is. Okay? Abdullah radiallahu anhu was born during the boycott of Banu Hashim. At that time when the Prophet ﷺ's community, which is Banu Hashim, they were exiled or expelled from Makkah, and people said, we're not going to do business with them. So they were put away into the Shi'ab, which is the valley of Abu Talib. They were staying there for about 3 or so years. Abbas, though, because he's also part of Banu Hashim, he also goes into that area as well. So now what happens is during that time, he actually has a son. The son's name is Abdullah. And he brings Abdullah to the Prophet ﷺ. This is how we know he's probably Muslim by this time. He comes to the Prophet ﷺ, says, Ya Rasulullah, please bless our baby, right? Please bless our child. So the Prophet ﷺ, what do you normally do when you have a newborn? It's called tahniq, right? Tahniq. So you take a date, you chew a little bit, and then you put that piece of the date from your mouth and your saliva into the mouth of the baby, right? MashaAllah, it has a lot of medical benefits, but the ruhani spiritual benefit is what? A transference of spirituality, right? There's a tabarruk, seeking blessings. That's why we go to our pious people and our elders and we go and say, can you please, and so I went to my teacher, Mufti Numan Sahib, and I brought Yahya. I'm like, I want him to be like you, Hazrat, MashaAllah. So who can be better than the Prophet ﷺ? But the thing is that the Prophet ﷺ does not have any food at the time. Why? Because they're in the boycott. There's no food. So the Prophet ﷺ cannot give any dates. So what did he do? The Prophet ﷺ just takes some of his Mubarak saliva and just puts it straight into the roof of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. So the first, you could say the first taste of the world was Mubarak saliva of the Prophet ﷺ. And so this is blessed beyond belief. Okay, this is blessed beyond belief. So now this boy has already had, his spiritual track has already been set. Okay, so he is, mashallah, growing up as a very religious and really very spiritual boy, albeit in Makkah, because the Prophet ﷺ, a couple of years later, he goes straight out to Medina, right? Where does Ibn Abbas stay? He stays in Makkah. He doesn't go. He's just a secret Muslim. He maintains his faith, though. No one's able to move him from his Islam. He's only about 4, 5, 6 years old at the time, right? And while the Prophet ﷺ is in Medina, 8 years go by. The Prophet ﷺ, he goes through all the battles. Finally, he comes back and conquers Makkah. Abbas actually heads out from Makkah to try to meet the Prophet ﷺ on the way. And so then the Prophet ﷺ says, Abbas, your hijrah is accepted. You're the last person who made hijrah. So everyone in the family of Abbas is also accepted too. Okay? And so then the Prophet ﷺ comes back and conquers Makkah. Now Abbas and his family go and say, all right, let's all head out to Medina. So now Ibn Abbas goes and lives next to the Prophet ﷺ because Abbas is his father, right? They're all living next to each other. So now when he joins the Prophet ﷺ in Medina, Abbas would usually tell Ibn Abbas, he would tell his son Abdullah, Abdullah, go stay with the Prophet. Why is he allowed to stay with the Prophet? Because the Prophet ﷺ has one of his wives, one of our mothers, her name is Maymuna. Maymuna radiallahu anha is the aunt, maternal aunt, khala, of Abbas Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. It's from his mother's side. So he can go and stay with the Prophet ﷺ whenever he wants. Abbas used to send him, why? He used to say, go look how he prays the Tahajjud. Go look and see how he prays the Tahajjud. Mind you, Ibn Abbas is probably 10 years old or so at this time. He's very young. But they trust him enough to say that we trust you. Go and tell us how the Prophet ﷺ prays the Tahajjud. And many times Ibn Abbas would say, I'm going to go stay in my Khala's house. And just go and stay. And then the Khala would, when Maymuna would see Ibn Abbas, say, Ibn Abbas, there's no space here. There's only like enough space for 2 people, right? It's like only space for like a small little bed, right? Ibn Abbas is like, don't worry, I can solve the problem. It's like, how? He's like, I'll take my lungi or my izar. They used to wear that, right? It was a fashion, right? So then he used to say, I'll make it like a small little bed for myself at the corner, right? So you guys will sleep like vertically, right? And then the pillow will be at the top of your head, right? And so I will sleep horizontally. And so you guys can sleep this way and I'll sleep this way. And then we'll all share the pillow, right? So we'll all share the pillow. So 3 people's heads on the pillow. Ibn Abbas is sleeping like right, left, right, and they're sleeping like up, down, right? And so the Prophet, he's like, he asked Maymuna, what did Ibn Abbas say and what was his response and stuff. The Prophet is like, wow, what a Mubarak kid. He's going to become the Sheikh of Quraysh. He was able to solve like he's like 10 years old. He's trying to figure out how to stay, mashallah. So in any case, he would, like everyone, subhanAllah, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., what are you and I doing? Catching disease. Right? We're all knocking out. Ibn Abbas is pretending to sleep, waiting for the Prophet ﷺ to get up. He's so excited. A 10-year-old boy, he can barely stay awake. You've seen kids like that, right? They are passing out. They look like they're drugged at 10 p.m. Everyone could agree with me on this, right? They just like start passing out by themselves. He's so excited to pray with the Prophet. He's not falling asleep. He's waiting. He's looking. He's waiting. He's looking. And so then finally the Prophet ﷺ actually gets up and he goes to pray the Tahajjud. And Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu comes and joins right behind him. Okay? Now where does he stand? Ibn Abbas stands right behind the Prophet ﷺ. If you're praying 2 people, where should the person stand? On his right side. So the Prophet ﷺ starts making ishara with his hand. Hey, he's like, come on. Ibn Abbas is like, he's like, no, I'm not moving. And so the entire prayer, the Prophet ﷺ is praying, Ibn Abbas is standing right behind him. This is, you and I would be like, what a bi'adob, this guy, and bi'adob, and then like, he would get the beats afterwards, right? So the Prophet ﷺ actually asked him, says Ibn Abbas, he says, Abdullah, why don't you stand next to me? Why don't you stand next to me? So, Ibn Abbas is so smart. He goes and says, أَيَنْبَغِي لِأَحَدٍ أَيَقُومَ بِإِزَائِكَ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. He says, is it befitting of anyone to stand next to you, O Messenger of Allah? I want you to think about it. Has the Prophet ﷺ ever prayed next to anyone? Has anyone ever seen the Prophet ﷺ pray next to anyone? Think about it. Where would the Prophet ﷺ be praying? As the Imam. When people were telling me it's weird to not pray next to people anymore, I'm like, I don't really feel that. Because I pray as the Imam, so I'm always not next to anyone. I'm always 6 feet distance, right? So I'm like, I don't really get what you guys are talking about, but may Allah to make it easy for you guys, But I'm just saying, the Prophet, Ibn Abbas is like, Ya Rasulullah, no one's ever stood next to you. How do I even know it's valid? Like, subhanAllah, little boy, 10 years old, is so deep in thought. He's like, no one can stand next to the Messenger of Allah, alayhi salatu wasalam. So the Prophet starts making dua for Ibn Abbas. He said, Allah, may Allah Ta'ala grant you. Allahumma allimhu al-hikmah. May Allah Ta'ala teach you wisdom, Ibn Abbas. Okay? So Ibn Abbas used to brag about that. He used to say, the Prophet made dua for me, for wisdom for me twice. He used to make dua many times. He just remembered 2 times. When the Prophet actually hugged him and said, Ya Allah, Allahumma allimhu al-hikmah. May Allah teach you wisdom. May Allah teach you wisdom. Allah teach him wisdom. Okay? The Prophet also got up for another salah, right? And then he saw when he was getting ready, because what happens is what? There's no taps, right? There's no faucets to turn on. You have to actually go and get your water. Physically, manually go get your water. And so they used to have like a container that used to collect the water for the night. And so you had to like open the container, pour it into the basin or the container you wanted, and then make wudu from there. It's a little bit of work, right? And so what happens is the Prophet gets up, gets ready to make wudu, and he sees all the wudu water there, already there. So he asks Maymuna and says, oh Maymuna, where did this water come from? And then she goes and says, Abdullah did it. So the Prophet is so happy. And he's so happy about this boy. He said, Allahumma allimhu ta'weel. Allah, teach him interpretation. Wa faqihu fid deen. And give him understanding of Islam. This is the du'as of the teacher. I can't stress this enough. When students make effort for their teachers, this is how Islam spreads. It's not just because of books. Again, you can go to any Orientalist. You can go to any guy studying in a university. If you want to learn Islam, they can probably teach it 100 times better than us. They'll have better presentations, they'll have better programs, they have better ways of teaching it. But to really get Islam, the kalima, la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, real understanding of deen, you have to get the du'as of the teacher. So the Prophet ﷺ made dua for Ibn Abbas. This was the main reason, okay? The main reason why Ibn Abbas became Ibn Abbas. So now he says in the same hadith, Ibn Abbas says, the Prophet ﷺ made dua for me twice, and I saw Jibreel alayhi salam twice. I saw Jibreel alayhi salam twice, okay? So I mashallah, I didn't have time to write it out in this in the presentation here. But mashallah, we have all the nice beautiful stories of him meeting Jibreel alayhi salam, which happened. It's, you know, when you look at the hadith, they're like at least 3 or 4. And he's just saying twice, but maybe it's because some of them might be the same narration, just mentioned multiple times. One of them was when Ibn Abbas saw him personally. Second time was with his father. We'll start with the personal one because it's kind of funny. Okay. So عن ابن عباس قال مررت برسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عليه ثياب بيض نقية. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, Ibn Abbas says, I passed by the Messenger of Allah ﷺ while he was wearing white clothes. وهو يناجي دحية بن خليفة الكلبي. And the Prophet ﷺ was speaking to Dihya al-Kalbi. Okay. You guys already know who Dihya al-Kalbi is. This is going to be very interesting. Okay. وهو جبريل عليه السلام. Dihya al-Kalbi radiallahu anhu was the most handsome of the Sahaba radiallahu anhu, they said. And when Jibreel alayhi salam used to come in a human form, like, I'm coming like Dihya. It's like, I like the way he looks, so then he comes and did the form of Dihya al-Kalbi. وَأَنَا لَا أَعْلَمُ. Ibn Abbas said, it was Jibreel, but I didn't know. Okay. فَقَالَ مَنْ هَذَا. So then Jibreel alayhi salam is talking to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam and saying, who is this? And then the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, Ibn Ammi, he says, it's my cousin. قَالَ مَا أَشَدَّ وَسِخَ ثِيَابِهِ. So Jibreel alayhi salam is a bit strict. He goes and says, his clothes are very dirty. He's a little kid, right? But in any case, he goes and says, أَمَا إِنَّ ذُرِّيَّةُ سَتَسُودُ بَعْدَهُ. Then Jibreel alayhi salam says, as for his children though, the children will lead everyone after. The children will lead the future. Okay? So the Prophet is looking at Ibn Abbas, because this is a conversation between the Prophet and an angel. So Ibn Abbas is sitting there just watching both of them. And the Prophet is looking at his eyes. He's like, he can see him. Right? So then the Prophet goes and says, Ra'ita may yunajini? Can you see the one who's talking to me? Ibn Abbas says, Qultu na'am. He said, yeah, I can see him. He's right there. Dihya al-Kalbi. The Prophet said, he's Jibreel. And then the Prophet said, Inna sayadhabu basaruk. He says, but you're going to lose your vision when you become old. Okay? Seeing an angel is not the easiest thing. People are like, I want to see an angel. You don't really know what it means to see an angel. I hope you understand now. That's the first time. Like, whoa. Okay, but he didn't lose his vision right there. You don't just go straight up blind. That's like Lut alayhi salam's people, which is an entirely different story, inshallah. We'll definitely get there sometime. The second story was really interesting too. So now he's with his father Abbas, just to show you, like, it's really just specific to Ibn Abbas. Abbas is there. He calls the Prophet ﷺ to come. Okay. Okay. So then the Prophet, Ibn Abbas says, I went there and I saw that there was a man with the Prophet ﷺ, so I headed back. And so when I came back to my dad and I said, oh dad, there's a man with the Prophet ﷺ, it's probably his guest. I don't think it's the right time to call him. Okay. So then Ibn Abbas himself, the father, goes and he goes and meets the Prophet ﷺ. He said, "Arsaltu ilayka ibni, fawajada indaka rajula, falam yastati' an yukallimahu." So then Abbas goes there and he goes and says, he doesn't see anyone with the Prophet ﷺ, right? And he goes and says, Ya Rasulullah, I sent my son here. He said there was someone with you and he didn't talk to you. And the Prophet was like, you saw him? You know, because again, no one should be, in theory, no one should be able to see Jibreel alayhi salam. فَقَالَ يَا عَمُّ تَدْرِي مَنْ ذَاكَ رَجُلٌ. So then the Prophet says, oh uncle, do you know who that man was? قَالَ لَا. He said, no. قَالَ ذَاكَ جِبْرِيلٌ. That was Jibreel alayhi salam. لَقِيَنِي لَا يَمُوتَ إِبْنُكَ حَتَّى يَذْهَبَ بَصَرُهُ. Then the Prophet tells Abbas radiallahu anhu, he says, your son will not, leave this world except that his vision will be lost. Okay? وَيُؤْتَى عِلْمًا. But he's going to be given tremendous knowledge. Okay? It's an exchange, and I'll explain it at the end what happens. Okay? But mashallah, this is a beautiful dua, and you heard Jibreel alayhi salam speak from before. He's like, this boy is going to become the scholar of this ummah. Okay? So the Prophet is highlighting something. And Ibn Abbas is meeting with the angels highlighting something. Ibn Abbas is so spiritual, so connected to the Quran. He is connected to the guy who sends the Quran down. Okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He chooses an angel to send the Quran with, He sends it with Jibreel alayhi salam. Ibn Abbas is so connected to the Quran, he literally can see the teacher of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's how deep his connection is with the Quran. That's why he can see him. That's why other Sahaba could not see him. Because the fundamental teacher of tafsir is Ibn Abbas. And so you're only going to get it if you can see the real teacher, which is Jibreel alayhi salam. Okay? So Allah Ta'ala wanted to highlight that for everyone. So now Ibn Abbas is always hanging out with the Prophet alayhi salam. So this guy is like, you're already like, man, Ibn Abbas is super cool. And he gets even cooler. Why? Because he would sit behind the Prophet ﷺ whenever the Prophet ﷺ would be on a ride. It'd either be Bilal radiallahu anhu or Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. It'd be one or the other. And the Prophet ﷺ would be talking to him, teaching things, educating him, right? But eventually, because if Ibn Abbas comes to the Prophet ﷺ in the 8th year of Hijrah, he only has about 2 years with the Prophet ﷺ. Only about 2 years. Because in the 10th year, of course, the Prophet ﷺ, he passes away. So now, he's only about, again, 13 or so when the Prophet ﷺ passes away. Now, Ibn Abbas he's looking at the funeral of the Prophet ﷺ. And he goes and says to a man from the Ansar, who is his close friend, he says, hey, he's like, yo, let's go. Let's go ask the companions of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, because today there are many of them. Let's go seek some knowledge. Right? Let's go learn Islam. Right? Imagine you going up to your friends and like, yo, let's go learn Deen from Maulana. It's amazing. Let's do it. So now your friend is going to be like, obviously, is like, do you really think that, so he is very offensive. He goes and says, do you really think people need you? That you have to learn Deen so you become a Maulana or Alim or whatever? Do you really think people need you? The Sahaba radiallahu anhum are so many. Why would anyone even want to come to you to learn Islam? So now, what would be our reaction? So generally what happens is, when my friends aren't going to join, I also give up. I also don't go. I just like, forget it. Okay? Like if he's not going to go, I'm not going to go. So what happens is we base all of our Islam and even our relationships just if my friend is going. And that's what we say too. Oh, I would like to go to the program, the halaqah, but my friend isn't there. So I don't really want to go. Right? Okay. So I just say, right? Let's say there's a basketball game. Okay? Now they're picking teams. Right? Follow me here. Now they're picking teams. So now they're going to pick you first because mashallah, you can ball. But you go and say, I'm not going until you take my friend. We both have to be on the same team. Are you really going to do that? No, you're going to drop his hand, kick him to the side and say, bro, I'm going to go play. There's only 5 people per team. If you're not going to make it, I'm sorry. I want to play. Okay? And so ilm is for the big boys. Ilm is for men. And so a lot of times boys are not going to understand the benefit of knowledge. Okay? And the same thing will happen on Qiyamah. No one's going to look for friends. Allah, if I need to go to Jannah, I'm going to go to Jannah. Okay? And so this is what we need to understand about the knowledge too. It's not if I won't go unless my friends go. It's like, bro, if you're not going to go, too bad for you. So what did Ibn Abbas say to him? فَتَرَكْتُهُ, I left him. It's like, you can stay behind then. I don't really need you, okay? So if they want to stay behind, that's fine. For you to go and progress, you got to just let go of people who are holding you back. There's no reason to stay with them then. You go learn. You go study. We'll get back to this friend in a second, okay? Because Ibn Abbas is not going to go on a journey. He goes and says, if any hadith reached me from anyone, if I learned there was a hadith with that person that I didn't know, I would go to him while he was resting. Why would you go on the rest time when they were resting, taking like afternoon nap? It's because Ibn Abbas wanted to learn from that person when he was completely fresh. When are you the freshest? When you wake up. Not like when you and I wake up, because when you and I wake up, we're angry and cranky and don't want to wake up for Fajr. When a Sahabi wakes up, he's very refreshed, mashallah, right? So he goes to the door of that person and he hears that that person is asleep. So he goes and says that I won't disturb him. I'll wait till he finishes resting. Okay? Mind you, Ibn Abbas says also he should take some rest. If you know that time in Makkah, Medina, the hottest time of the day, right? Before and after Dhuhr, right? People are taking rest. Ibn Abbas is sitting out in the sun, waiting for this guy to come out from his door. He put down his cloak on the ground. He's dirtied his cloak. And you know at that time, there's no tiles or things like that. They're just what? Sand. So sand is hitting his face. It's covering him in dust. Who is he though? He is the family of the Prophet ﷺ. If we talk about Ahlul Bayt, he is Ahlul Bayt. It's not just Ali radiallahu anhu. Ibn Abbas is also Ahlul Bayt. He also cannot accept zakat. He's also from the Sayyid Sadat, the same lineage of the Prophet ﷺ. So then he goes, so when the guy comes out, he's shocked. He says, Ya ibn Ammi Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He says, oh, a cousin of the Messenger of Allah. Shouldn't you have just told me? I would have woken up right away and come to you. You didn't even need to come here. I would have woken up. I would have gone dressed. I would have came to your door to teach you Islam. That's what he tells him. But Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu tells him something really important back. And this is something we have to remember. He goes and says, Ana haqqu. He says, I have more right to come and atiyaka wa as'alaka. He says, I have more right to come to you and ask you. Okay? I have more right to come to you and ask you. What happens? What happens? Nowadays, because of the corona, it's becoming, there's another virus that's spreading. What is the other virus? So, mashallah, generally we always tell people to come for maktab. Okay, I'm not offending anyone. If anyone's listening online, it's like, well, doesn't like maktab online and stuff. Mashallah, it has a benefit, right? I'm not going to say the ideal benefit. Like there are certain kids that they just change their names to what? Reconnecting or parentheses host. There's clearly playfulness and a lack of adab, right? And maybe it's not every kid, not gonna knock your kids, mashallah, okay? Allah bless all of our children, inshallah, okay? But what I notice is now there are a lot of parents asking me, Maulana, can you take this time and come and teach me online? Maulana, can you teach this kid? Maulana, can you come to my house? Maulana, can you do this? Maulana, can you do that, right? A lot of people are asking now, because why? Because now everyone has an opportunity. And it was always like that before too. People used to say, can you come to my house? Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, and I just want everyone to understand why we're just so sensitive about this. Imam Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala was kicked out of his home of Bukhara. Okay, there was a specific reason. There are a couple of reasons people said. This is probably the most important reason, is that the king or the Amir of the time, he tells Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he says, hey Bukhari, you are a great muhaddith, you're a great scholar of hadith. Can you come and teach my kids? They're princes, right? It's like, can you teach them hadith? Bukhari says, yeah. He's like, okay, can you come to the palace? Bukhari's like, no, I have a certain time for dars. They come for that time. They come to my house and they learn. And the guy refused. And so then he ran Imam Bukhari's name into the ground and stuff like that. And then he had to be kicked out of his own home. But this is the idea about Islam. And I want everyone to understand that. Is that, look, in order to learn, right, the student has to come to the teacher. It's not the other way around. And I got so offended, like, mashallah, like I also made my Zoom class like this. The Zoom class was this, that I would be the guy waiting in the class and everyone would join. Because at least it kind of resembles that, like you're still coming to the teacher, right? But now, subhanAllah, I was in another class session where the teacher joined the students. And I was so annoyed, like if my teacher saw that a teacher would come in and sit where the students are, he would just get up and go. Like, how dare the knowledge become so disrespected that students don't even realize now that they have to go approach the knowledge. It's like, brother, but we have to learn the Islam. No, if you have to learn Fard al-Ain, that's a different story. Converts and stuff, completely different story. I will go to them any day and give them knowledge. But if you're actually trying to learn the knowledge of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you're trying to get a little bit ahead, you got to go to the teacher. There's no other way. There's no other way. Okay? This is not like a delivery service. It's not like a Postmate. And you just go around just delivering. This is DoorDash, right? Here's your knowledge, brother. No, I'm not here to deliver a pizza. If you want to learn the ilm, you got to come to the teacher. And I'm not knocking it, mashallah. We're going to have to run with online stuff for a little bit longer, right? But we have to understand that, look, if you want a kid to become a hafiz, he has to come to the teacher. It's not the other way around. And mashallah, kids will become good hufaz, mashallah, if they respect their teacher and they learn that adab. Because why? And I'm not saying this. You can say, oh, Mullah, you're talking crazy talk. Right in front of you is what Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu was saying, what? He's from the family of the Prophet ﷺ. If anyone had a right to sit at home and people come and teach him deen, he should sit at home and people should come teach him deen. But he goes and says what? This is these words which should be written in gold. Al-ilmu yu'ta wa la ya'ti. You guys probably know it as the passive form and then the active form. Al-ilmu yu'ta. Ilm is sought. Ilm you have to go to. Wa la ya'ti. Ilm does not come. Ilm will never come to you. Ilm is a very jealous thing. Ilm is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you desire Allah, you're not going to see Allah come through the door to you. You have to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You got to go to meet Allah. You got to go to learn this knowledge. There has to be an ambition there. There has to be a drive. That's why scholars are not made just from sitting at home and relaxing. Scholars have to do a lot of work. And even in madrasa, you thought that like, even in America, like, oh, Maulana, this is only in Pakistan and Bangladesh where these madaris are so hard, right? Because they're eating like dal every day and stuff like that. I mind you, like, probably not as hard as them. But one time in Hanafiya, like the masjid that I was at, right? We were at the madrasa, right? I let you know, like, I don't think anyone in Pakistan or Bangladesh would have this scenario. I was the only student in that dorm that time, right? There was no one else dorming. So I was by myself in the room. It was winter, like, negative 10 degrees type, okay? So then I had to get up to go make wudu to go to class, right? And some other things I also need to do with water, but long story. Okay, so in any case, I went to the bathroom, I turned on the taps, no water's coming out. I go to the shower head because, like, I'm trying to get water out. No water's coming out. Literally, the taps everything is frozen. Like and I had to call the teacher, say, I need the ijazah to not come in today because this is how much stress you're going through. There's no water in the building. Like this is what you have to, like, there's a struggle that you just gonna have to go through. Okay? There's some weird food you have to eat. There's sometimes no food you have to eat. Like there's, Allah Ta'ala will make it happen because you got to show Allah that you really want it. This is not for people that are just going to sit down at home and relax. So in any case, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma would not be the guy sitting at home and waiting for Sahaba to come. He would go to everyone's door, wait there, meet the teacher, and get the knowledge from the teacher. And then he would tell people, he told his students, I would go and ask one single question to 30 of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. I'll go around getting different viewpoints and opinions and getting a different perspective. Because the more scholars you ask, the more you'll understand the topic better. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu will go around. The greatest scholar of his time in terms of Sahaba was this man named Zayd ibn Thabit. Zayd radiallahu anhu was the scribe, the one that used to write down revelation, the Quran from the Prophet ﷺ. So this man was the guy who knew Quran. If you want to know who knew when the ayats came down, what's this ayat talking about, what's that talking about, Zayd was there writing it down every single time. So Ibn Abbas used to go to him, and he used to see Zayd radiallahu anhu struggling to get onto his camel because he's kind of old now. So Ibn Abbas would help him onto his camel. He'd carry his bags. He'd walk around, and then Zayd would be like, let go of my bags. He's like, no, 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 no. And then he would put the bags onto the camel, put it onto the saddle straps that they have there, and then he would pull the camel from the front and take it and walk it to wherever Zayd needed to go. And Zayd would go and say, look, Ibn Abbas, this is not right for you to do. And so Ibn Abbas would say, هَكَذَا أُمِرْنَا. He said, this is like, we were commanded to do like this, لِعُلَمَائِنَا, for our scholars. This is what we were commanded to do for our scholars. So Zayd is like, this smart little. And so then, mashallah, what does he do? Zayd says, come. Ibn Abbas comes, he says, give me your hand. He gives his hand. It feels like Muhammad like, let's slap the hand. But Zayd comes and takes the hand of Ibn Abbas, and then he kisses it. He says, هَكَذَا أُمِنَّا أَن نَفْعَلَ بِأَهْلِ بَيْتِ نَبِيِّنَا صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said, like that we were commanded to do with the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They have mutual love for each other, right? They have mutual respect. So who did Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu stick to the most? He found Umar radiallahu anhu. He was Umar radiallahu anhu's special student. Okay, and you guys, most ones like, this is Umar radiallahu anhu. Like, this is Umar, he's big. He was so scared of Umar radiallahu anhu. He needed to learn things from him, but he's so scared to ask him a question. So he's always looking for the appropriate time. So there was a question he had about Surah Tahrim. There were two women that were discussed in that surah, right? He wanted to know which were the two women. He doesn't know who the two women were, like the two wives of the Prophet ﷺ, right? They did something with honey or whatever, right? That famous story. And he's like trying to figure out which of the two women. And he needs to ask Umar radiallahu anhu because Umar radiallahu anhu would know. But he's so scared to ask him. So he's been traveling around with Umar radiallahu anhu for 2 years straight. Wherever Umar would go, he would go. He would pour wudu, he would do everything, right? He would do everything. But there would always be people around. He'd be so nervous. He didn't ask him for 2 years, but he'd be waiting to ask the question. Finally, 2 years later, when he's pouring the wudu water for Umar radiallahu anhu, he's doing it, there's no one around. He says, oh Umar, who are the two women mentioned in Surah Tahrim? And Umar radiallahu anhu said, you seem like you wanted to ask this for quite some time. And then Umar radiallahu anhu, he's like, yeah, I've been waiting for 2 years. And like, and then Umar radiallahu anhu was like, you could have just asked directly. Like, you don't have to wait for knowledge. He's like, don't be foolish. Don't be shy. He tells them Aisha and Hafsa, right? He tells them Aisha and Hafsa. But you can see, mashallah, like people are, and I can't tell you how frustrating it is. Like certain kids just think like, and I can see it. It's like, Maulana is on WhatsApp all the time. So they just text them every single question. Right? Sometimes it takes some time to research an answer. Sometimes it takes some time, honestly speaking. Like someone asked about the other day about, can we grow genetically produce meat, right? Can we produce it in the lab? And is that halal? I'm like, bro, do you expect this answer in like 10 minutes? Like, do you really think that I'm going to answer this 10 minutes? Someone asked about Botox. Someone asked about this and that. I'm like, I need to sit down and actually look at the books and figure this out. Certain questions are just not going to come. So look at him though, Ibn Abbas. He's like literally waiting for the opportunity to ask. He's not just asking whatever. Mullah is awake at 2 a.m. All right, this is the time for the question. Where's our adab anymore? Where's our adab? Ibn Abbas has such adab, mashallah. So now, the special scholar of this ummah, right? So this is Ibn Abbas' journey. The special scholar of this ummah is called, he has a special title called Habr. Habr in Arabic means ink pot. It means ink pot, okay? It is the word that they use for the rabbis. The ultimate, the highest level rabbi is called the Habr of the ummah of like Musa alayhi salam. So we use this word in Islam too. The Habr is the ink pot because why? If you want to write anything, what do you need? Ink. You have to dip it to the ink pot every single time. So the habr of the ummah was the scholar which you had to rely on. There's no other scholar. You had to go to him. And so you needed to write. So who was that scholar before Ibn Abbas? It was the man named Zayd. Zayd radiallahu anhu was that scholar. So when he passed away, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu goes and says, the habr of the ummah has died. لَعَلَّ اللَّهَ أَن يَجْعَلَ Ibn Abbas خَلِيفَهُ. Right? He goes and says, perhaps Allah will make Ibn Abbas his successor. They're all hopeful for Ibn Abbas. So he was legit like a computer, or maybe a computer was like him. Right? He was so smart. Everything would just come to him. They gave him the titles already. They said he's Habar and Bahar. He is the scholar and he's the ocean. He's the inkpot and he's the ocean. He has so much knowledge. Things would just keep coming out of him. It would flow. And so what happens is what? When Sahaba radiallahu anhum are busy and things like that, and they're all engaged in other things, and we'll get to that story right in a second. His house was like, it would be in Medina, right? His house was the university of the time. Everyone would flock there and go there to learn. So there would be so many students outside of his house just waiting to get in to learn something from him. It'd be a line, like the lines of the movies when there's like a huge, amazing flick to come out, or a huge movie premiere, whatever. That would be like the house of Ibn Abbas. People would just be waiting there just to go in and learn knowledge from him. To the point that Tawus is a very big scholar. So someone yelled at Tawus. The Tawus, are you really going to this young boy? And they're the senior Sahaba. You're not going to Uthman, Ali, Umar. You have these senior Sahaba. Why are you going to Ibn Abbas? Tawus told him. He said, I have seen 70 of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. He said, I've seen 70 of them. Okay. And another narration, he says, I've seen 500 of them. He said that when they would debate an issue and they could not come to a resolution or a solution, they would go to Ibn Abbas. Everyone just trusted him. They were like, this is the kid that knows. Okay, so they used to go to him. So he's like, I've seen 500 Sahaba. And this man is amazing enough. He saw 500 of them. He's like, if any of them had any questions, Ibn Abbas would be the guy. They go to Ibn Abbas. Okay, so one of his companions, I just want you to understand how smart he was. Okay, so now one of the companions of Ibn Abbas goes and says, one day we woke up and we saw, when I was heading out to Ibn Abbas's house, I saw the entire streets leading to his house crowded. It was like a huge mass, which you never see in coronavirus times anymore, right? It was huge. 300, 400, 500 people just there, flocked there, waiting to get into his house to learn Islam. Okay, I wish we had that type of love, Allah protect us, right? So that I go in the house and I'm like, Ibn Abbas, Hazrat, you gotta wake up. Right? And so he goes and he says, this is the crowd. And then Ibn Abbas is like, okay, get me some water. So then he gets the water. He's like, all right, makes wudu, sits down in his teacher spot. He's like, all right, go and tell them, whoever wants to learn about the Quran and its letters, if you're going to learn about the Quran and its letters, what does that mean? You're going to learn about tajweed. Okay? He says, if they want to learn about tajweed, tell them all the students that want to learn about tajweed, they can come right now. Okay? So now those students come. They come to the door. They fill the house. They ask all their questions. He answers all of them, and he gives them more than what they asked for. And then he says, okay, you guys can go. Now then he goes and tells the guy again, say, come back. Now, anyone who wants to know about tafsir of the Quran, go out and say that من أراد أن يتعلم من تفسير القرآن وتأويله فليدخل. Then they can enter. So then he tells them, and so then the guy goes out and he brings all the students that want to learn about tafsir. So they ask their questions. Ibn Abbas gives the answers, and then he gives them more than what they asked for. Everyone's like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. And then he's like, okay, you guys can go. And he said, all right, whoever wants to learn about al-halal wal-haram wal-fiqh فليدخل. Whoever wants to learn about halal, haram, and fiqh, they can enter. Right? So then they enter. He gives them everything they wanted and more. And then he says, all right, you guys can go. Then he says, whoever wants to learn about inheritance. This is the one that, like, for scholars, you gotta sit down. When the guy says, I have my father died, I have one mother, 3 daughters, and one son, and I have a dog, what do I do? You're like bugging out. You're like bugging out, right? And so you have to sit down and say, I'll get back to you. He says, anyone who wants to learn about inheritance, they can come right now. So good on his brain, So then they enter the house, he answers all the questions and gives them more. Then he goes and says, who wants to learn about Arabiya, wa shi'r, wa gharib kalam al-Arab? He says, if you want to learn about Arabic, poetry, and foreign words, difficult speech of the Arabs, فَلْيَدْخُلْ, you guys can come in too. Right? So then they all enter, he answers all their questions and gives them more than what they asked for. And then, and every single time a group would come and go, he'd say, please make space for the next group. Please make space for the next group. It's kind of like our Jummah, right? So you need to get out, don't pray your sunnah, next group needs to come in. Okay, so everyone's going, and so you tell everyone, be nice to everyone else is coming in, give some space on the road, right? So that companion that was with him in the beginning is like, man, لو أن قريشا لم يكن he said that if Quraysh had nothing else to brag about, this would be enough for them to brag. That this man knew all this information. He was just so erudite, like he was just so smart that he could just answer everyone's questions right away. And so he wasn't just the tafsiri mufassir, okay? So now that same friend, you remember the friend? Remember did no one even need you? Why are you going to bother, whatever, right? The guy you meet like 10 years later, right? So, and I tell you, I have the same experience. I can tell you stories about myself going back to New York. People are like, whoa, you know, like it's just kind of different. You know, I'm not saying I'm anything. I really don't think so. But like, there's a different experience, right? Those same friends that are like, yeah, you're still money. There's like money. You know, so you want to be Hazrat, whatever. So in any case, that same friend sees Ibn Abbas when he becomes a full-fledged scholar. And he sees people learning from him. What did he say before? He said that, are people even going to need you? Do people need him? He goes and says, هَذَا الْفَتَى أَعْقَلُ مِنِّي. He says that this boy is much smarter than I could ever be. That guy probably kicking himself in the whatever, right? Because he's like, he missed out on his opportunity. And that's what's going to happen. If I always advise anyone who wants to learn Islam, people are going to miss out. You don't miss out, okay? So how smart was Ibn Abbas? Aisha radiallahu anha says, وَأَعْلَمُ بِالْحَجِّ. He's the most knowledgeable when it comes to Hajj. Aisha radiallahu anha saying that. She's herself a faqihah. She's a muftiyah herself. She's saying, the one you want to go for Hajj, you go to Ibn Abbas. Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, the son of Umar radiallahu anhu says, Ibn Abbas, أعلم أمة Muhammad بما أنزل على Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ibn Abbas is the most knowledgeable of the Ummah Muhammad for what was revealed on Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. No one knows more than him. And so now Ibn Mas'ud, if you're going to talk about a scholar, and we talked about him before, if you want to talk about a proper scholar in Islam that developed fiqh, it was Ibn Mas'ud. No one could be better than him in that. He goes and says, لو كان ابن عباس, if Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu was our age, because Ibn Mas'ud is at least 10, 20 years older than him. He said, if Ibn Abbas was as old as us, no one would be able to compete with him. He's like, we're smart, but we have the edge of age over him. If he was our age, we couldn't compete with him. Ibn Mas'ud says, نِعْمَ تَرْجُمَانِ الْقُرْآنِ Ibn Abbas. He says, what a great interpreter of the Quran is Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. Okay, and so when we're talking about learning of tafsir, we're not saying that Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu or Umar radiallahu anhu didn't know tafsir. They know tafsir. They definitely know tafsir. But someone who had such depth and breadth, right? They made their life's goal to understand tafsir. That was Ibn Abbas. That was his goal. So we can say Umar radiallahu anhu, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu were definitely great mufassirin. But someone who made their goal in life to understand the Quran was Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. And he did it. He knew ayats. Even Umar radiallahu anhu himself. Umar radiallahu anhu himself says that, you know, he would go and say, Ibn Abbas, you know things that we don't even know. It's amazing. The guy who was the Prophet ﷺ says that if there was a prophet after me, be Umar. He's saying, Ibn Abbas, you have knowledge that we wish we had that knowledge. This is how smart he was. So Umar radiallahu anhu used to rely on Ibn Abbas. He used to rely on him. He said any difficult problem was to come, he used to call only Ibn Abbas. He would tell Ibn Abbas when he came. He said, difficult circumstances have come upon us. You are the one for it. فَأَنْتَ لَهَا وَلِمْأَمْثَالِهَا. You are the one who can handle the problem. You are the solution. You solve the problem. Ibn Abbas was good enough to do that. Okay? And he would tell him, إِغْصِي يَا غَوَّاسِ. He would say, diver. You tell him, just dive in. Whatever you find, Ibn Abbas will take it. You go in and find the answers. So he would not take anyone else's opinion. This is the thing about Umar radiallahu anhu. When Ibn Abbas would be there, he would not take anyone else's opinion. He wouldn't listen to anyone else. And so who are the companions with Umar radiallahu anhu? They're the people that went to Badr. They are big Sahaba. They are powerful, mighty looking, you know, beards that have gone gray and white. You know, these are mature men. And whenever, like, they would be sitting in the council, and this little boy, 23, 24 years old, would be coming into the room, and he's like, his beard is still black. They're like, you know, and they're like huge, like looking like, you know, giants, and these like little kid like sitting in the corner. And mind you, Ibn Abbas was pretty tall himself. Like all the Arabs are really tall, right? Umar radiallahu anhu was so big, right? His feet would touch the ground when he was on a horse. Like they were giants, right? Have you ever seen that Maqam Ibrahim? You ever see his feet? If that means anything, like, you know, like they were huge, right? MashaAllah. I don't know. We're just getting shorter year by year or something, you know? Eventually basketball when we play with like 5-foot people or whatever. That's all those best. Any case, so Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu would be there, and they would be like, they would look at Omar and be like, Omar, we have kids older than him. We have grandchildren older than him. Why is he sitting here? And so they would actually get very frustrated with Umar radiallahu anhu, and they would say, Omar, why don't you invite our kids? So Umar radiallahu anhu said, look, he's a very mature boy. He is a boy that has reached, he looks like he's 25, 26, but he's at least 50 in terms of maturity. He would say he's an adult. And he has a tongue, sa'ulan. He has a tongue that would be asking questions. وَقَلْبًا عَقُولًا. And he has a heart that is always understanding. Okay? So Umar then would try to tell them, لَا يَلُومَنَّنِي مِنْ حُبِّ Ibn Abbas. He would say, don't criticize me for my love for Ibn Abbas. So please don't. He's like, I love this kid. Don't talk to me. But they kept asking. They kept getting frustrated. Like, look, Omar, he doesn't belong in this council. Bring someone who's mature. Bring a brother guy, you know? Don't bring a small kid like this. So now Umar radiallahu said, all right, fine. So he brought Ibn Abbas one time. He goes and says, oh, Sahaba, all the council, give me the tafsir of Surah Al-Fath. I'm sorry, not Surah Al-Fath, Surah Al-Nasr. Surah Al-Nasr is what? إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ فَتْحٌ. Everyone reads it like every namaz, right? It's really short. I think every Sahabi should know it, right? Like that type of thing. So Umar says, he picks a very easy surah. He's like, can you guys tell me the interpretation of the surah, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ فَتْحٌ, which translates to, when the help of Allah Ta'ala will come in victory, and you will see the people entering to Islam in groups. And then the Prophet in the ayah continues and says, so then praise your Lord and make istighfar, seek forgiveness. إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا. He's the one who is ever repenting, meaning he's always going to accept your repentance, right? So surah is basically what the Sahaba radiallahu understood, and what you guys understood probably too, is that the Sahaba, they're like Badri Sahaba, they're like, Allah has commanded the Prophet ﷺ, when he sees people entering into Islam, to do what? Say Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Astaghfirullah. Right? So when you're seeing people enter Islam, seek forgiveness, and whatever. So Umar radiallahu says, okay, and I think that's what we also understood. It's very straightforward, right? And so he goes and says, Ibn Abbas takallam. Ibn Abbas speak. Right? Ibn Abbas is silent there. He's like, and then he goes, and Ibn Abbas, another narration says, he says, what do you think, Ibn Abbas? He says, I don't agree at all. And then he's like, oh, speak. And then the Prophet, he goes and says, أَعْلَمَهُ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى مَتَى مَاتَ. Right? مَتَى يَمُوتُ. The Prophet, Allah, he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed the Prophet when he would die. That's what the surah is about. You're like, oh, I read that in namaz. I didn't realize it was such a heavy surah. And then he goes and explains it. He goes and says what? He's like, the sign of your passing, oh Ya Rasulullah, is that people are going to enter Islam. Because a Prophet's job is done when people are entering into Islam. When the message has spread and now people are entering into groups, your time is up, O Prophet. Now start doing Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Astaghfirullah. Because what does a person do when they become 60, 70 years old? They stay in the masjid, just make dua and make istighfar. So the Prophet is being told indirectly, oh Rasulullah, your time is up. That's what Ibn Abbas radiallahu understood. You can see that we were understanding surface layer. Ibn Abbas went really deep. That you not even know there was a layer to that. So Umar radiallahu goes and says, oh Ibn Abbas, what you saw, I saw. I don't know if you can do anything after that. So the Badri Sahaba were like, okay, Ibn Abbas definitely deserves to be here. He definitely deserves to be here. And so now what you would see is that, Ibn Abbas, when he came to tafsir, he'd be on the mimbar. No preparation. I'm telling you, like in terms of getting ready for bayan, hours need to be spent. Ibn Abbas would be on the mimbar. He would take the two hardest surahs in the Quran. Which are the two hardest surahs? Longest one? Baqarah. Second longest? Al Imran. Ayatan, verse by verse, he would give tafsir. Without even thinking of it, just people, and they'd be writing it down like he's giving out gold and gems and everything. This was literally the inheritance of the Prophet ﷺ being spread in the masjid. And they would just be taking out these verses. One time when he went out for Hajj, right, he was leading the Hajj caravan, okay? And so, by the way, when he went out on a caravan, one time Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, he was going out for Hajj. And because he was like the Amir of the Muslims at the time and stuff like that. So he'd have this huge entourage. He'd have a big parade behind him, a big caravan behind him, right? And Ibn Abbas is just like a normal guy. Like he doesn't really need like that huge posse, whatever. But then what happens is what? Muawiyah radiallahu anhu has a huge caravan behind him because he's like a government official, right? He's Amir. And then when they're seeing Muawiyah come with his group, they see Ibn Abbas and they see an entire group behind him too, as big as Muawiyah's. And they're asking like, who are these people? They're just students of knowledge, trying to learn from Ibn Abbas on his way to Hajj. So then what happens is what? Ibn Abbas gets on the mimbar again during Hajj and he gives tafsir of Surah Nur. Tafsir of Surah Nur. To the point that the man goes and says, his name is Abu Wa'il radiallahu anhu. He says, I've never seen or heard any tafsir like this. He goes and says, if Persia, Rome, and the Turks heard what this guy just said, they would all accept Islam. That's how great he was. We don't understand the capacity. I'm telling you, in terms of like studying tafsir, and inshallah, one day you guys inshallah, you guys will get into it. You open a book of tafsir, and you'll say, Qala Ibn Abbas, Qala Ibn Abbas, Qala Ibn Abbas, Ibn Abbas said, Ibn Abbas said, Ibn Abbas said. Because that's literally like every ayah, we're just looking, what did Ibn Abbas say? Because if he said it, that's it. Like, we're good. We're settled on the matter. That's how we felt. He you know, that entire commotion he had, the crowd he had in front of his house. So Ibn Abbas said, all right, in order to allocate the crowd, we're going to give different days for everyone. Okay? So he said different days of the week. He said 1 day is for fiqh, 1 day is for tafsir, 1 day is for seerah, 1 day is for poetry, 1 day is for the history of the Arabs. He was a historian too. 1 day for general talks. Everyone wished to come to whatever day they needed. If you want to come for fiqh, come on this day, tafsir another day, seerah another day, poetry another day, Arabs another day, general talks another day. He had different days for everyone, mashallah. Okay? In terms of narrations, 1,660 hadith. 1,660 hadith. He's only spent 2 years with the Prophet ﷺ. He's literally learned this from all other Sahaba. He went around just learning from Sahaba what they learned. The only three Sahaba who surpassed him were Abu Huraira, Aisha. Aisha's obviously, it would just kind of make sense, right? And this Amr ibn As, Abdullah ibn Amr, because he used to write down hadith. So he kind of cheat code, you know. They never used to write, they all just remember, right? And Abu Huraira, because a Prophet made dua, Ya Allah, never let him forget. There's a dua, if you guys want to remember, Allahumma inni as'aluka, Allah, I ask you, ilman, knowledge, la yunsa, that is not forgotten. The Prophet taught him this dua. He made some special dua for Abu Hurairah, so he could just remember things that people would forget. So he narrated like 5,000 something. So you can't, you know, he's like the Usain Bolt. Okay. So now in terms of students, if you're just saying, okay, Ibn Abbas is a great Mufassir, so let's talk about who his students were. Muhammad ibn Sirin, Mufassir. Ata ibn Abi Rabah, Mufassir. Ikrima, Mufassir. Tawus, Mufassir. Sa'id ibn Jubair, Mufassir. Mujahid, Mufassir. Amr ibn Dinar, Mufassir. Alqama, Mufassir. Dhahak, Mufassir. Wahab ibn Munabbih, Mufassir. Literally everyone who's giving an opinion in tafsir is just saying something that Ibn Abbas learned. It's like, that's just what my teacher said. So that's what Mufassirin are. All the Mufassirin in any books of tafsir, you're going to look for Tabari, whatever. Look at any book of tafsir. All the students all the Mutabi'een there are just students of Ibn Abbas. That's all they, you know. And so, you know, there was this one alim who said, I accompanied Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma from Makkah to Medina. And if you're thinking Ibn Abbas was just an alim, he spent his entire day, you know, just on the ivory tower speaking to people. Again, he was very general. He met with the people, knew fiqh, understood things, right? He said that I spent time with Ibn Abbas. If you think he's just an alim, right? He said, whenever we stopped at a rest point, right? And they will ask, what is he reciting? Right? وَجَاءَتْ سَكْرَةُ الْمَوْتِ بِالْحَقِّ. You read that ayah, وَجَاءَتْ سَكْرَةُ الْمَوْتِ بِالْحَقِّ. He said that the pangs of death have come with truth. And you recite that ayah, that one single ayah from Isha all the way to Fajr. Because of how scared he was that when death will come, what were we going to do? He kept crying and crying and crying. And he used to fast Mondays and Thursdays, stand every single night in tahajjud. So good ibadah. They said that if you looked on his face, he was so handsome, mashallah. And his students loved him. And I can't stress this enough about loving your teacher. It's part of deen too. Like, we should love our ulama and our teachers, albeit they can be a little strict here and there, you know, mashallah, you know, but love them for the sake of Allah, because they need your du'as, right? That's what we do it for. We want this knowledge to spread. We want the students to make dua for us, right? They'll spread the knowledge, inshallah, and we'll benefit. That's what we want, right? So now Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu has a student. His name is Ata. We're going to get to him later. Ata ibn Abi Rabah radiallahu anhu, they used to talk about Ibn Abbas, right? And that was his, in terms of a main student, it was Ata. You know, they would go and say, when they would go meet Ibn Abbas, they would come from, I think, from Makkah, they would go to Medina to meet Ibn Abbas. And they would say that, you know, Ata used to live in Makkah. Ibn Abbas used to say, like, are you guys coming from Makkah? It's like, yeah. It's like, don't you have Ata? It's like, yeah, Ata is there, but we came to, he's like, Ata is much, you can just go to Ata, you don't have to come to me. That's how much Ibn Abbas trusted Ata. So he was a very close student to Ibn Abbas. So he goes and says that whenever I see the moon, the full moon on the 14th night, I would say, wow, the moon is so beautiful. But the face of Ibn Abbas was much more beautiful. It's like, I miss our teacher, you know, he was so handsome, just a great guy, mashallah, you know. So he used to cry so much on his Mubarak cheeks that you'd see that there were lines on his face from excessive crying. That's how much he used to cry in front of Allah for fear of Allah. Sahaba used to Anas to study from who's the grandson of Ibn Abbas too. Ali, the grandson of Ali, right? Ali radiallahu anhu's grandson, whose name is Zainul Abidin, used to study from Ibn Abbas too. Hassan al-Basri, if you probably know him, also studied from Ibn Abbas. Fatima, who's the granddaughter of Ali radiallahu anhu, also studied from Ibn Abbas. They all just used to send him to Ibn Abbas. He was like the maktab teacher, right? Like, yo, this is the maktab, you gotta go here. Like, they learned from him, mashallah, they benefited, okay? And so we talked about, mashallah, you know, Ata rahimahullah ta'ala, he lived for 71 years of his life. Right? Happened. It happened the same way that the Prophet predicted it, right? And this is of either seeing that would just weaken, or if you want trials, teach Sahih Bukhari. He said that if you want trials in the world, teach Sahih Bukhari. If you want to see musibah in your life, you want to see jinnat pop out, you really want to see jinns, start teaching deen. Okay, like things are going to happen, you're like, how the heck did that even happen to me? You know, and you're wondering, because why? Because Allah will test you. So what is the hadith? The Prophet ﷺ said, Allah Ta'ala says, if I test my slave and I take away his two beloveds, meaning I take away his eyesight, I only can give him Jannah. So Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu maybe was told by the Prophet ﷺ, you're going to receive Jannah at the end, just be patient. But did that take away from Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He literally goes and makes a poem about it. He goes and says, Allahumma salli Muhammad, let me see if I can find it. He goes and it's a very short poem. Just give me 1 second, inshallah, because it's really nice, mashallah. That's what happens when you don't mark the page. So I wish it was like Ibn Abbas, mashallah, he memorized everything. It basically goes, the poem summary is this. He says that if my eyes have lost their nur, he says I still have ilm, which is a nur. Right? He says if my eyes lost light, my knowledge is still light. He goes and says that my heart is still functioning, my heart is still intelligent, my mind is still fresh. He said that, and if anything, my tongue is still sharper than a sword. Right? So I've never seen, I don't know if you've seen it, I've never seen any alim of deen ever at the time of like becoming elderly or old look like he's not sharp. Right? Senility or becoming senile doesn't seem like it applies on the ulama, because the knowledge that they have. Mufti Pambali himself, rahimahullah ta'ala, was so old, but he spoke like such wisdom. People are like, how the heck how does he know all these things, right? MashaAllah. So you notice that. So Ibn Abbas lived for 71 years. He was still teaching till he passed away. Okay. So now what happens is what? Of course, obviously, there's so many students. Okay. Ata ibn Rabah, inshallah, we're going to get to that in a second. His passing away was what? When they're putting him in the grave, they see a bird. And these are all Sahih hadith. There's no doubt about this. They see a bird. It flies into the grave of Ibn Abbas. And they're like, that was kind of weird. And the bird just goes in and no one sees the bird come out. They can't find the bird anymore as well. They're like, where did the bird go? Some scholars have mentioned this is probably the Quran manifesting itself and saying, I'm joining him in the grave. I'm going with him. I'm going to protect him. Okay, there's a narration, it's a bit weak, which is that Surah Mulk will come in the form of a bird. Some people might have heard that, right? There's some question about the narration, but this would definitely be very interesting, right? Ibn Abbas definitely knew the tafsir of Surah Mulk, right? And when they were burying him, putting dust on top of him, they're hearing someone saying, Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutma'inna, O tranquil soul, irji'i ila rabbiki, return to your Lord, radiyatan madiyah, that being pleased, we're going to take care of you. Fadkhuli fi ibadi, enter into my slaves, wadkhuli jannati, enter into my Jannah. These are the ayats that are being recited at the time of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu was passing away, right? And so now, mashallah, and these two takeaway points in terms of lessons, before we get to his final part, which is his legacy, and I apologize for going a bit longer. It just, this last part is really interesting. But in terms of two points, okay? I just want everyone to remember these two things, inshallah. Number one is that, why did Ibn Abbas attain what he attained? Number one is that he had respect for his teachers, okay? I can't stress enough how much I've seen it in my own small little study of Islam. I've seen with our classmates, certain classmates, that they're not going anywhere in life. Because why? Because of disrespect of the teachers, right? And I'm not saying anything about myself, but I love my teachers, really. They're like my fathers, you know? And I always keep them in my heart. When you make that dua, Rabbi irhamhuma kama rabbayani saghira, you should, Allah have mercy on our parents. You make intention for your teachers there. Allah have mercy on my teachers too. Okay, and that way you'll never forget them. Right? So we should always make sure that we cherish and respect our teachers. That's number one. Ibn Abbas did it. And mashallah, you saw where he got. being smart enough to figure out what your teacher needs is a good wisdom. If the Prophet says, I need a wudu water, he didn't say, hey, Ibn Abbas, go get me wudu water. He knew that he needed it, so then he got it ready. So being smart enough to figure it out, right? Reading between the lines. Second thing is what? The drive. Ibn Abbas had a drive. He had ambition, he had a thirst. He just wanted to know. I'm not satisfied. Literally, I was just not satisfied with what people were telling me about Islam. I needed to know what you were telling me was the truth. And I needed to see the hadith. I needed to see the Bukhari. I needed to learn for myself. I didn't know if I was practicing right or wrong. I need to see the hadith, right? I need to learn it. And that's what pushes me and drives me, that I got to learn these things. If no one's going to study it, I'll study it. I learned so many ajib things, I don't have enough time. I can't even tell you these weird things. Okay, about the Botox and the growing meat in the lab, whatever. We can talk about these things on another 5th day, maybe, inshallah, maybe on a Tuesday, whatever. But that drive should come from you. Don't worry about your friends or family. No one's going to be behind you here. Trust me. No one likes ilm. The only very crazy people, pagal people in this world like ilm. They're crazy. They're spending time learning in the masjid about Arabic, about how, like, Ghayr Munsarif, Umar radiallahu anhu, and stuff like that. They're learning these things. MashaAllah. Okay, we're basically done, inshallah. So they're the last part that I just wanted to really quickly break off was this. So in terms of students, so he has 2 groups of students. One of them in our Medina, the other group is in Kufa. Okay. Now Medina students they become the 7 great jurists of Medina. Okay. They learn, they are so smart, right? They become the 7 judges of Medina that if you need a fatwa, you go to them. Okay. From them, there's this man named Abdurrahman ibn Hurmuz. He learns from them. After Abdurrahman ibn Hurmuz learns, he finds that he needs a special student. So he sees a very small boy who still can memorize like the Sahaba and Tabi'een. And his name is Imam Malik. Okay. So Ibn Abbas's students taught Imam Malik. Imam Abu Hanifa has a very short chain of hadith which he brags about. Only has 2 narrators between him and the Prophet ﷺ. Even Imam Bukhari doesn't have it. Imam Bukhari has 3 narrators. Imam Abu Hanifa has 2 narrators. Ata and Ibn Abbas. Go straight to the Prophet ﷺ. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq, inshallah. Wa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.